The Arab Sugar Daddy and the Beautiful Indian Girl by Dr. A. Ahmed. This is a one-sided love story between a rich old Saudi man and a beautiful poor Indian girl. It was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. It is a novel in 6 parts. Part 1. The Arab Sugar Daddy falls in love with a beautiful Indian girl. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a rival system, or transmitted in any form, or by enemies without the prior written permission of the author, except by the reviewer, who may quote brief passages from the review for printing in a general magazine, a school journal, or a university article. All characters in this novel are fictitious, and any resemblance to real people, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Chapter 11. Incredible news. On Saturday morning, the boss, Mr. Muhammad Khan, arrived at his office with alcohol effects as if he had just drunk. The night before, while he was enjoying his time with his secret mistress, who came from Bangalore City in her suite at the Opera Hotel, he drank so much liquor that the effects did not wear off, even after he spent most of the morning trying to recuperate in his office. The wonderful time the notorious womanizer spent with his adulterous mistress in her opulent room, and his sudden gold rush of wealth the day before, along with greater potential business dealings, are spoiled by alcohol. And what further added to his really bad mood is that 4 of his employees have not shown up for work. 2 of his female employees have phoned and reported they are damn sick, and the third absentee is the Sudanese boy Babikir Al-Awar. A Sudanese interpreter has a bad habit of coming in late to work, and Muhammad could not fire him because he employed him upon the recommendation of his Saudi client, Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. The 4th employee, who has neither shown up for work nor called to report the reason for his absence, is Jamal Khan. The angry boss swear by the name of Allah to divorce his Muslim wife if Jamal Khan did not call and report the reason for his absence by lunchtime, or he would fire him. This means he is going to either divorce his wife or fire Jamal, but not both. It is a common practice among Muslim men that for their decisions to be accepted by others, they will threaten to divorce their wives. For that reason, many Muslim wives got divorced for silly reasons. The 5 employees present have heard their post when he shouted his proclamation of divorce or kicking his absent employee, and they have concluded that Jamal Khan's days at the travel agency are close to an end. After making that irrevocable decision, the wicked boss entered his office and slammed the door shut behind him. The employees are afraid the tyrant will come out of his office at any moment and fire all of them without hesitation. When he did not come back out of his office, they saw that Allah, most gracious and most beneficent, had mercy upon them and saved them from the wrath of a madman. But later, just a few minutes before the lunch break, the 5 employees began to hear their boss shouting in his office as if he is fighting with the great Satan himself. Everyone began to wonder what is going on in his office. One of the girls suggested that someone should go and find out what had happened. The other employees silenced her and told her if she is so interested in finding out what was going on, then she should go to him and figure out for herself and get fair. While he is still shouting, Mr. Muhammad Khan burst open the door of his office and storms out as if he has been chased by a pack of ravenous wolves or the office has caught fire. The five employees immediately stood on their feet and waited for their inevitable demise. Then he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Where is that fucking Sudanese slave who is called Babikir?" They have never seen him so angry before or use such vulgar, filthy, and racist language. They began to shake and tremble as if they had seen a demon or their worst nightmares had come true. It is like a scary movie where monsters or aliens attack from outer space or the dead zombies have come alive, resurrected from their graves, and taken possession of your soul. It is the jealous girl Roxana who has even dared to answer him at the same time and ask what has happened. That fucking street hooker who is called Rehana Khan did not board the plane last night and had plane arrived at Jeddah International Airport without her. This is the last news on earth the five employees would have expected to hear. Rehana Khan did not fly to Saudi Arabia, asked Roxana softly, speaking to herself rather than to her boss. Her mind, constantly working, immediately comes up with an explanation, but she is scared to share it with her outraged boss. She's afraid he might hold her responsible for not coming forth earlier and revealing something is going on between Rehana and Jamal. The love affair between the two is just speculation in the beginning, but is confirmed when Babikir Al-Awar swore by Allah that he saw with his both eyes Jamal and Rehana sitting by the seashore of Marine Drive. He has only one seeing eye, but he loves to say his both eyes see. The Sudanese said further, he even saw with his own eyes Jamal is hugging the lovely maidservant and kissing her on her lips. All the other employees believe the Sudanese boy because he's staying at the International Students Hostel located behind Chargy Gate. Babikar Al-Awar whispered this juicy bit of gossip to one of the girls in the travel agency with whom he has a crush, but she does not care for him at all because he's a black boy. Although she's the least attractive of the girls, she would not fall in love or marry a black boy if she had to remain unmarried for the rest of her life. Just to avoid being distracted by this side issue, to put it in a nutshell, Indians are some of the most racist people on the face of the earth when it comes to a person's skin color and matrimony. If you are a black foreigner, Indians would treat you kindly, but if you fell in love with their daughter and wanted it to marry her, you would be out of your mind. They would never permit it. No matter how rich you are and no matter how much you offer as dowry for their daughter's hand in marriage, they would never agree. They would rather live and eat dirt for the rest of their lives than agree for their daughter to marry a black man. Black South Indians encounter greater obstacles and face untold difficulties stemming from discrimination and prejudice in Indian society. In many Indian cities, foreign African students studying in universities who have black faces are called niggers and monkeys. We might examine this topic later on so we can give it a fuller explanation of why Indians are such racially biased people. If someone happened to be reading this story or hearing it, he or she is from and he or she is from south of India, I'm sure they are well acquainted with this painful and ugly side of Indian life. Black Malayali or a Tamil man and woman from India's southern states are often targets of racial prejudice from their compatriots. Even black-skinned Indian girls from South would not be quick to marry a black man. Such a marriage would be a rarity indeed, but occasionally there are exceptions. When these socially unacceptable unions take place in which a black man marries an Indian girl, the couple will find it extremely difficult even to walk down the street together. If any Indian saw an Indian girl walking in a public place with a black foreign student, he would mistake her for a prostitute. An African friend of mine married a black Malayali Indian girl, and he couldn't be with her in public without people accusing her and calling her a whore to her face. One day, an old Indian man stopped my friend's wife and asked her, "Daughter, didn't you find a man to marry in India, and that is why you chose this cold black Negro man?" My black African friend and his Indian wife eventually applied for refugee status due to constantly having to deal with such humiliating public racist encounters are ridicule in India. Their applications were accepted on humanitarian grounds and they were sent for resettlement in a Western country. Although Babikir saw the handsome Jamal and the beautiful Rehana sitting by the seashore and swore to Allah he caught them red-handed, kissing and romancing endlessly, the story did not reach the ears of his boss. He told these secrets to the Indian girl he was in love with. So, can we say that it is a one-sided love interest because she does not love him? The girls in the office kept whispering these things among themselves, but did not ask Jamal about it. Howbeit, when the matter reached its boiling point, the enraged boss demanded an explanation or he would fire them all. One of the girls decided to throw Jamal under the bus. It is the envious girl Roxana again who spoke up and suggested the boss should contact Babikir and Jamal and find out why they have not shown up or phone and reported the reason for their absence. Mr. Muhammad Khan knew he had told Babikir Al-Awar, the Sudanese boy, to go to the airport to see Rehana Khan and her daughter Iffat Khan off. But he wanted to know why Roxana had mentioned Jamal Khan. What did Jamal's absence have to do with anything? Being hard-pressed to provide answers, Roxana began to spill the beans about the relationship between Jamal and Rehana having a secret love affair. This incredible secret information has increased the wrath of the already incest man. He shouted at Roxana and scolded the others for not informing him about this unacceptable affair going on between one of his workers and the maidservant of his Arab client. He told them that Jamal Khan was for sure going to be fair for committing this serious indiscretion and conflict of interest. But he did not see how such a love affair could prevent this poor slum woman from traveling to a rich Arab country. He is a man of calculations, and his business intuitions would calculate the benefits he could reap from having a relationship with any woman. So his money-minded perspective on life reckoned that anyone in the place of Jamal would never stop his Indian girlfriend from going to a rich Arab country and profiting from such an opportunity. Later, he would expect her to help him to get his foot in the door and follow afterward. Moreover, he understood that Rehana would not be that foolish woman to throw away free visas and tickets to Saudi Arabia for a life of living in the dirt and having an affair with a poor boy living in the chols. At the most, she might have sex with him and kiss him goodbye, but then forget all about him when she reaches her promised land, the land that flows with honey and money. Accordingly, Mr. Muhammad Khan told his employees for the time being to forget about the affair of Rehan and Jamal. He said he wanted it to know what happened to that fucking black Negro slave. He wants to know whether Babikir had gone to the international airport or not. Therefore, he ordered two of his female employees to go to the international students' hostel and bring to him Babikir al-Awar. He told them strictly that if they return it without him, they would be fair. Even if he is dead and buried, they have better dig him up and bring back his body from the grave. The two who have been selected for this task are the girl whom Babikir loves and who does not love him, and the jealous girl Roxana. Those two girls have been selected at random. Those two girls have not been selected at random. They have been purposely chosen for a specific reason. The boss, Muhammad Khan, had picked up the fact that the ugliest girl in his office is love interest for Babikir, but she is irritated, does not love him. Since it is a one-sided love and the girl is extremely unpleasant to look at, the boss does not see any reason to bother worrying about half-hearted inclinations. So he decided to send her for this task of finding the boy who loves her, even though she does not love him. Roxana has been chosen because she is the boldest of the 9 employees and the smartest. When the two envoys reached the international student hostel, they did not find the Sudanese boy in his grave as his evil boss had predicted it, but they found him lying on his sick bed. Roxana and the other girl informed Babikir that the boss wanted him to come to the office right away. They told him emphatically he must come with them immediately because a bad situation had arisen in the office and he is the prime suspect. They have not speculated about the nature of the problem because they had been informed by the boss not to do so. By the way, I have not mentioned the name of the girl that Babikir loves, who does not love him, until now. All this time, I purposely avoided mentioning her name because it did not suit her. Her name is Jamila, which means a beautiful girl. However, this girl Jamila is far from beautiful. Not only is she ugly, but she is also extremely obnoxious and self-serving. She knows that Babikir loves her and often gives her many expensive gifts, such as luxurious flower bouquets, beautiful dresses, and chocolate sweets. And she often uses him to buy her food and other expensive items. But she does not want to say to him, "I don't love you," or "Please stop buying me these expensive things." Whenever she wanted something to eat or to buy something expensive, she always asked Babikir to bring it to her because she knew he would not take money from her, but would buy for her from his bucket whatever she wanted to get, no matter how expensive it was. In this way, she uses him to fulfill her own selfish desires, always talking badly about him behind his back with other employees and bragging about cheating on him. One day, she says that she would rather marry an ugly devil than be united in marriage for life with a black man like the one-eyed eyed Babikir, who's black as coal. After all, if someone is so stupid that he cannot tell the difference between a girl who loves him and a girl who is using him for his money, then nothing can be done to someone as blind as a bat like that. Chapter 12, Accomplishing a Mission at Bombay International Airport. The two girls have resurrected the bedridden Sudanese boy out of his grave, his sick bed, and they force him to come with them and face the devil's advocate. Babikar al-Awar is indeed extremely sick. He is coughing with a severe cold and fever. Despite his sickness in India, such a small health issue is not considered a good reason for a worker or an employee not to come to work. The Sudanese boy was dragged hook, line, and sinker back to the workplace, where his angry boss screamed directly in his face. Although he could not at first discern the meaning of the words his noisy boss was shouting at him, he immediately jumped backward, fearing that he might be strangled to death by this ruthless tyrant. Only after Abdul Shaitan Khan shouted the same words over and over again did the Sudanese translator Babikir realize what this dangerous lunatic was yelling. His angry boss demanded an immediate answer for what he did to Rehana Khan and her daughter Iffat Khan at the international airport. Before we reveal just how the Sudanese boy responded, let us first state some particularly important facts concerning the matter of this airport mission case. First of all, Babikir really went to the international airport to bid farewell to the maid and her daughter, but for some reason he did not see them. He thought he arrived too late, or that Rehana and her daughter Ifat did not see him and entered directly into the departure hall. Secondly, he tried to enter the departure lounge but was prevented by armed Indian police security personnel at the international airport. After the Bombay bomb blast of the Muslim terrorists that devastated the entire city and killed hundreds of innocent people, the airport authority stopped allowing non-passengers to enter the departure hall. Those bomb blasts were more powerful and deadly than the explosion that happened recently in the port of Beirut and destroyed half of the capital of Lebanon. Sadly, as we have already mentioned, Babikir has one blind eye and he has a vision problem in his other eye. During the night, he may not recognize his mother and father if they happen to pass in front of him. Fourth, it was raining heavily when he reached the airport. Like many non-travelers visiting the international airport that day, he stood in the wind and rain for 3 hours until he fell sick. For 3 hours, it rained cats and dogs like a broken water pipe in the clouds. His clothes were soaking wet as if he had jumped inside a swimming pool fully closed. His socks were soggy like a sponge, and his shoes were squeaking every time he took a step. Finally, he learned from someone standing nearby him that the plane heading for Jeddah in Saudi Arabia had taken off, and he then concluded that his mission was accomplished. Out of mere duty, he waved his right hand to the flying aircraft and felt pleased by doing so. Then he returned to his hostel. But it took him 2 hours to travel by bus, a local train from the Bombay International Airport to Andheri locality in the western part of the city of Mumbai. to the international student hostels located near the Churchgate station in the southern part of the cosmopolitan city. His wicked boss ordered him to go to Bombay International Airport to help the maid servant and her daughter to board their plane, but he did not give him money to hire a taxi cab. So he traveled up and down from money he paid out of his pocket by bus from the international airport to Santa Cruz station and then took a local train to his final destination. When he removed his wet clothes and shoes and fell asleep, it was 5 o'clock the following morning. Naturally, we would not expect him to rise and shine and be ready for work after having less than 4 hours of sleep. He would have to be at work by 9 o'clock the next morning. If he went to work, he would surely be extremely tired and unable to concentrate because he was sick from standing outside for hours in the humid air while the rain was coming down in sheets and fell over him like a bathroom shower. After truthfully and precisely stating the facts about Babikir's airport saga, let us hear what the Sudanese fellow provided as an answer in his defense. Babikir's boss is furious and shouting indistinguishably and spitting in his face, and he just is not making any sense. Babikir perceived something bad had happened to Rehana and her daughter at the Bombay International Airport, and the boss is holding him responsible. The angry boss, frustrated at Babikir's lack of response and becoming exhausted from his continuous ranting, at late stage alcohol hangover managed to catch a breath. He shouted at Babikir again, "What did you do with Rehana and her daughter at the international airport?" Babikir now understood what the fair-breathing dragon was spewing out of his mouth. A few possibilities bobbed into Babikir's mind, although he is not able to think clearly due to his sudden bout of sickness. Despite the throbbing pain in his head, he came up with the possibility that perhaps Rehana and her daughter had missed their flight. The second possibility is that maybe there was a mix-up with the luggage, and the third, Rehana might have accused him of quarreling with her, and due to that, she lost her luggage or missed her flight. He quickly rejected this last silly thought because he did not meet her at the airport. So how could Rehana possibly accuse him of quarreling with her? Fearing that he might be fair if he told the truth, Babikir quickly came up with a story that was half truth and half falsehood and narrated it to his boss and colleagues. The story is simple and straight to the point. He truthfully said that he went to Bombay International Airport but did not meet Rehana and her daughter Iffat face to face. He was unable to meet them because airport security did not allow him to enter the departure hall. And here the false story begins. He claimed that he saw Rehana and her daughter through the glass barrier at the airport while they were standing in line inside the departure hall. Of course, if Rehana and her daughter Iffat stood 1 meter in front of him, he would not be able to recognize them, as one eye is blind and the other eye is semi-seeing. Then he added something extra to make his story more convincing. He said that he waved to them with his right hand while he was standing outside the departure hall. But Rehana did not wave her hand to him because she was busy talking to an Indian woman who was standing in front of her in the queue. Then Babikir ended the story by saying in an emotional tune of voice, "Her cute little daughter Ifat saw me and waved to me with her little left hand through the glass." This story seemed to satisfy the infuriated boss and the other employees, and they were collectively convinced he had fulfilled his airport mission assignment responsibly. Muhammad Khan is like a person drawing in shallow waters and willing to hold onto anything to save his life and the life of his business. His mind started it working like clockwork once he heard Babikir's convincingly funny story. He concluded that Rehana and her daughter had boarded the wrong plane. He knows it is common due to overcrowding at Bombay International Airport that sometimes passengers are sent to the wrong gates and boarded the wrong planes. He recollected the case of an African boy who bought a ticket from his agency and was flying back to his country of Kenya. At the airport, he was sent by mistake to the wrong gate and flew to Paris City instead of Nairobi City. The flight crew of Air India had to take care of him for 5 days until they could fly him back to Bombay. During those 5 days, the lucky African boy flew without charge with Air India from city to city throughout Europe, and they provided lodging for him at 5-star hotels. Finally, the boy was put on the right plane and sent to his correct destination in Nairobi. Therefore, Mr. Muhammad Khan thought Rehana Khan and her daughter Ifat were most probably flying in Air India somewhere in Europe or Africa, or enjoying delicious meals in a restaurant or a 5-star hotel somewhere in America or Australia. As soon as this fairy tale was hatched by the Sudanese interpreter Babikir, Muhammad's face grew less tense and became less distorted. Nevertheless, the boss still has a serious problem on his hands. He returned to his office and took Babikir with him as an eyewitness to the still developing story, which he decided to convey on the phone to Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed. He picked up his phone and dialed the number of his client in Saudi Arabia and narrated to him this wonderful story that the Sudanese interpreter Babikir had just recounted it to him. He added some lies to it to make it more persuasive. He claimed fallaciously that he found a top officer at the international airport himself and investigated the matter of the maid servant and her daughter. From this reliable source at the Bombay International Airport, he came to find out that Rehana Khan and her daughter Ifat Khan had boarded a plane by mistake and were flown to Mauritius. From Port Louis, the course of the Air India plane would fly to a few African cities such as Cape Town, Lagos, Nairobi, and Abidjan. Then it would return to Bombay. It might take 5 to 7 days before Rehana and her daughter Ifat would be back in their homeland. Continuing the lie, Muhammad Khan said, "I am trying with the help of some very high official at the Bombay International Airport to get hold of the captain of that plane. I request him to transfer the misplaced Indian passengers in another plane heading to Jeddah City in Saudi Arabia." In this way, Sheikh Ahmed got suckered into these two fake narratives of Babikir Al-Awar and Mr. Muhammad Khan, and decided to wait a few extra days for his lovely maid servant Layla and her cute daughter Ifat to arrive at Jeddah International Airport. Chapter 13. The arrival of the Indian Layla at the Jeddah International Airport. On the third day after that incredible frantic call had arrived from overseas, which said the plane arrived in Jeddah city without the lovely maidservant and made Mr. Muhammad Khan exceedingly outraged. Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed received a call from Jeddah International Airport. The airport authority informed him that an Indian woman by the name of Rehana Khan had just arrived from Bombay and she was looking for him by name, and she said he was her Saudi sponsor. The Jeddah International Airport Authority has not mentioned the woman has come as a maidservant on a work visa or has a 7-year-old little daughter with her. Sheikh Ahmed likewise has not asked or wasted time asking unnecessary questions. He traveled with the speed of light from his office to the international airport as fast as he could to receive his lovely, darling Layla in his arms and bring her to his house so he could begin to enjoy her remarkable beauty and sexy body. His soul had sunk in deep despair from sadness and frustration for 3 days and 3 nights without anyone saying a word of confirmation where she is, and now suddenly he found himself like an eagle soaring high above the clouds of happiness and pleasure. Finally, his beautiful picture of the perfect Indian Layla came to him on a silver plate decorated with gold. He recalled the suffering and humiliation he endured when that infidel, uncircumcised Christian whore, Christy, cheated on him, stole his money, kicked him out of his palace in Bombay, brought her uncircumcised infidel dog, Bobby, and committed adultery with him like a bitch. He will never forget the way she called the cops on him and kicked him out of his mansion in Bandstand Bandara at Bombay, and then she brought her uncircumcised and defiled boyfriend Bobby into his house and allowed him to hold her hand right in front of his eyes. At last, he has been recompensed by his exalted Allah, who gave him the most beautiful woman in the world. She is more beautiful than the Egyptian queen Cleopatra. She is also far more lovely than Miss World, and she even surpassed in her beauty and sexy body the most beautiful Indian film actress. The Indian Bollywood superstar Aishwarya Rai and former Miss World Priyanka Chopra may secure a second and third places besides Rehana Khan in the Miss India competition. He has never seen such a beautiful Indian woman in all his life, and now she is coming to live with him in his mansion in Jeddah. He will be her sugar daddy, and she will be his pampered princess, like the Prophet Muhammad and his child bride Aisha. In his country, no man can ever dare touch. In his country, no man can ever dare to touch his highly esteemed possession of feminine beauty and survive after that. If anything like this happened, he would murder such an evil man, and at the same time, he would overkill his adulterous woman and burn their unclean adulterous bodies with unquenchable fire, and the law would be on his side. This lovely Layla, who has just arrived at the international airport in Jeddah, is going to be his and his alone. He concludes that even his God Allah could not take her anyway from him after he had given her to him and brought her to his country. Sheikh Ahmed decided to sleep with his lovely Indian maidservant Layla as soon as he brought her to her new holy golden cage in his sacred abode. A wicked thought then entered his disgusting mind, but he decided not to act on it so quickly. He remembered Rehana was bringing her 7-year-old daughter with her, and his consciousness troubled him a little. He remembered his prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl called Aisha, and then his consciousness did not trouble him so much. He told himself that maybe he should not be in such a big hurry to touch the little girl so soon and be sexually content and satisfied for a while with her lovely mom. He must wait until the minor girl reaches the legal age for marriage according to Islamic law. The Islamic law, called Sharia law, allows a Muslim man to have sexual intercourse with a female at the noticeably young age. Sharia law sets the legal age for a female to be able to bear sex with a male when she reaches the age of 9 years. With those evil thoughts rummaging through his dirty mind, Sheikh Ahmed reached Jeddah International Airport. He began searching for his lovely Indian maidservant Rehana and her cute daughter Iffat. He searched everywhere in the spacious arrival area. He climbed stairs and escalators and went from floor to floor and ran in all different directions, but he could not find the perfect object of his desire. Finally, he approached an office and gave the names of his Indian maidservant Rehana Khan and her little daughter Iffat Khan. The person who checked the names was able to verify the name Rehana Khan in the system, but the computer showed she arrived all alone from Bombay to Jeddah. Sheikh Ahmed was a bit puzzled when he learned his maidservant Rehana Khan had arrived without her daughter Iffat Khan. He is quite certain that he had sent another visa for her 7-year-old daughter, but his joyful heart rejected this puzzling dilemma and asked the official to announce the name of his Indian maid Rehana Khan over the intercom system to direct his beloved Layla to the office, where her Saudi sponsor or her sugar daddy, the Arab Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, was waiting for her. Nonetheless, his joyful heart dismissed this Accordingly, the airport official who confirmed the arrival of the maidservant Rehana Khan has spoken into the microphone again, and the maidservant in question has heard her name echoing throughout the huge international airport. She kept holding her Indian passport and her maidservant visa to Saudi Arabia, along with a small luggage bag in her hand. The bag she has brought with her from India is as small as the school bag of a 7-year-old female student. The Indian maidservant located the office where her name had been announced and showed her valid Indian passport and maidservant visa to the Arab officer at the front desk, who broadcasted her precious name. Sheikh Ahmed did not recognize her when she walked inside the office. When the airport employee told him, "This is your maid Rehana Khan," the old Arab sheikh could not believe his eyes. His heart had almost stopped and his body was paralyzed. When his brain started working again, his entire body, from head to toe, began to sweat and shiver like a decrepit old geezer. This great shock occurred because the elderly Saudi man had never seen such an extremely ugly Indian woman before in his entire life. She is short and thin and looks like a male, not a female. Her color is black like the burnt coal. Her eyes are as light as golf balls and look like they are about to pop out of their sockets. She appears that half of her teeth are missing, even though her mouth is closed. She is old and appears to be in her late 50s. Her nose is small and pointed, like the peak of a flying hawk. In short, she is incredibly and unbelievably ugly. Chapter 14. The incredible outpour of vulgarity. Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed has concluded that he has been cheated and robbed of his money by Mr. Muhammad Khan. He considered it being even more wicked conspiracy than that of his Christian ex-wife, the infidel bitch who was called Christy, who had kicked him out of his mansion and brought another man instead. Consequently, he took out his cell phone and dialed the number of the travel agency. The same day, the extremely ugly Indian woman arrived at the Jeddah International Airport and falsely claimed to be his lovely maidservant, Rehana Khan. When the phone of Mr. Muhammad Khan began to ring, he happened to be lecturing the two girls who supposedly fell sick purposely on the two previous days of Friday and Saturday and did not show up for work. Although the two girls brought recognized medical doctors' excuses, he refused to believe them and accused them of forging those medical documents. One of the two girls is crying and begging him to believe her story. The other girl is weeping and waiting for the first girl to finish bleeding her case so that she can also beg for mercy. Added it to this dire climate is the absence of Jamal Khan. For the said day, he has not come to work or reported the reason for his being absent from work. Jamal has not shown up for 3 days, and this fact has increased the merciless rage of the unforgiving boss. In addition, the notorious womanizer had also quarreled with his Muslim wife at home after she accused him of having a secret love affair with one of the girls in his office. The wife's accusation is based on practical evidence. For 3 consecutive weeks, he did not sleep with her, even though she begged him to take her to bed and make love to her. Every day he pretended to be so damn tired and had no strength for sex. But the truth is that he is sleeping with teenage hookers of Kolaba and other young street women, and of course with his mistress from Bangalore city. The wealthy woman is married to another man. That wealthy woman is married to another man, but she is also cheating on her husband. On top of all this, the devil incarnate boss could not figure out what happened to the lovely maidservant Rehana Khan and her cute daughter Hifat Khan. When the phone kept on ringing, Mr. Muhammad Khan took out his cell phone and looked at the number that unceasingly kept on calling him. He recognized the number to be that of Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, and he purposely ignored the call. For 3 days, he is avoiding his phone calls because he has not yet figured out what has happened to the lovely Indian maidservant Rehana Khan. Then he heard the phone in his office begin to ring and went on and on ringing. He ordered the Sudanese boy Babikir to go inside his office and answer his phone on the desk. He never trusts or allows anyone to enter his office when he is not there except the Sudanese boy. He never trusts his Indian people. Muhammad Khan had spent a few years living in Saudi Arabia, where he made some money and returned to India and invested his savings in his own travel and recruitment business. During those years, he theorized that the most honest people in the Muslim and Arab world were the Sudanese. For that reason, he always trusts his Sudanese employee more than his Indian employees. That is why he sent Babikar Al-Awad to the international airport in his place when his Bangalorean mistress suddenly showed up unexpectedly and requested him to come and spend the night with her in her room at the five-star hotel Oporoi. The wicked boss enjoys lecturing and torturing his employees, especially the female ones. He always looks for a justifiable cause to intimidate a female employee so that he can use it to blackmail her sexually. When a girl is put in that situation, she has to decide on either one of two choices. She could either voluntarily leave her job or sexually entertain him inside office. He is such an unscrupulous man, he would not hesitate to have sex with his female employees inside his office. One of the two girls he is trying to intimidate is a new girl, and she's a very beautiful and has a sexy body that could tempt a saint or an imam of a mosque. From the day she started working at the travel agency, he kept searching for a way to intimidate her into having an illicit sexual relationship with him. This day, she found herself in a most despairing situation and begging him to forgive her absence and not let her go. Her name is Bulbula. She is 21 years old and unmarried. She has a slim and medium stature with brown eyes and hair black as coal. The degenerate boss liked her from the very first day she came and applied for a job at his office. Here is his chance to take advantage of her since she failed to show up for work on Friday and Saturday. He's doing his best to frighten her into submission and ultimately leave her no choice but to please him sexually or lose her job. So while Muhammad Khan is standing like the pharaoh of ancient Egypt and shouting at his two female employees and scaring the hell out of them, Babikir enters his office and answers the phone that is ringing on his boss's desk. Suddenly, the voice of the Sudanese boy began to scream in a high pitch, higher than the ear-deafening voice of his boss. No employee has ever raised his or her voice aloud in the office like this before, as if someone has suddenly switched on one of these new rap beats and turned the DVD player to maximum volume. The screaming voice of Babikir forced the disturbed boss to stop harassing the petrified young females and listen to what is going on inside his office. This is the second time in less than 4 days his amusement has been interrupted. Unfortunately, a Sudanese boy was shouting in Arabic and no one could understand what he was saying. Although the boss had lived a few years in Saudi Arabia, he could not understand the Arabic sentences that were said by his employee with whom he was speaking. His first reaction is to run to his office, snatch the phone from Babikir, and choke him to death for daring to shout in his office, and worse, he's screaming at one of his most valuable Arab clients. Before he could turn his thoughts into actions, Babikir sprang like a surface-to-surface missile that had been fired out of Muhammad's office and broke the incredible news in front of everyone. Shall I say, it is startling to say the least. So startling, everyone stared at him in amaze. For a few minutes, you could hear a pin drop. Babikir did not know why they were not reacting, so he started squealing and squealing all over again. The Sudanese translator said that Sheikh Faiz Bani Ahmed called and said an incredibly ugly Indian woman had just arrived at Jeddah International Airport and claimed to be his maid Rehana Khan. The woman has all the official documents of Rehana Khan, which had been issued by the office of Muhammad Khan Tours and Travels. Accordingly, Sheikh Ahmed is accusing Mr. Muhammad Khan of cheating him by sending a woman he had never seen before or chosen to be his maidservant. Mr. Muhammad Khan could not believe what he was hearing and did not believe a single word Babikr was saying. Therefore, he left the two frightened girls standing and ran into his office and picked up the phone to speak to Sheikh Faiz Bani Ahmed and inquire as to what had happened. Sheikh Ahmed began shouting at the top of his lungs into the ears of Mr. Muhammad Khan every vile word you can imagine. Surprisingly, although Sheikh Faiz Bani Ahmed could barely say hello in Hindi, still he has not left one word unspoken of every single vulgar and degrading word he knows in Hindi and Arabic. First, he began insulting him in the Arabic language. He called Mr. Muhammad Khan, Kus Ummak, Kus Ukhtak, Ya Ibn Sharbuta, which means, I'll fuck your mother's pussy and your sister's pussy, oh son of a bitch. After that, the extremely Arab sheikh switched it to the Hindi vulgar language. Mr. Muhammad Khan could not believe his ears. This angry Arab is making accusations against him, shouting derogatory and reviling insult after insult, calling him every filthy and disgusting name known to man. No one has ever risen to any level to speak down to the arrogant Mr. Muhammad Khan in any way or use such a colorful and descriptive adjectives. He has never had someone rival him in his obnoxiousness. It is incredible. He thought for a moment maybe was not Sheikh Faiz Bani Ahmed screaming obscenities at him, but someone had mistakenly dialed the wrong number. If by chance this Sheikh Ahmed, he happened to be standing in front of this extremely outrageous son of a bitch, he would not hesitate to kill him. He even imagined he killed the old goat by grabbing a knife and stabbing him to death. And if he happened to have a gun, he would not hesitate for 1 second to empty all its bullets in his fragile brain. Sheikh Ahmed continued shouting at Muhammad Khan for what seemed like forever until all of a sudden he lost his voice, apparently due to a major heart attack caused by his uncontrollable rage, or he could have had a contusion of the brain or burst a blood vessel. Whatever the case, the phone went dead silent for a couple of minutes. Muhammad waited a few more minutes, and when he no longer heard this raving, mad asshole of a man, he quickly disconnected the line. Once he put down the receiver, he could still hear Sheikh Ahmed's voice as loud as two claps of thunder in an outpour of vulgarity and disrespect. These humiliating insults remained forever etched in his mind, and nothing could erase them. Muhammad Khan is an enormously proud man, and that day his bride was shaken to the core. His bride could not shield him from the anger of Sheikh Faiz Bani Ahmed's barrage of insults. Not only did the old Saudi man insult him and seriously wound his bride, but his insults reached Muhammad's deceased mother in her grave. his wife in her vagina and his sister in her pussy. Even the honor of his sister has not been spared and left untouched by the humiliation he endured from this wrathful Arab calling him in Hindi Mother Chut and Pan Chut, which means I will fuck your mother's vagina and screw your sister's pussy. He has insulted his late mother and his unmarried virgin sister in both the Arabic language and the Hindi language. If the uneducated Arab sheikh spoke English, he would certainly say to him, "You son of a bitch, and I will fuck your wife's pussy in your house or your bed and in front of your eyes." During his many visits to India, the disrespectful Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed learned nothing useful and polite from the multicultural and great heritage of Hindustan society and its rich Hindi language except filthy expressions. Those filthy words he has spoken are fighting words and the ugliest insults an Indian could ever say to another Indian. An Indian man would be inclined to extreme rage upon hearing such indecent things and feel the need to retaliate in word and deed. Only homeless people on the streets and trams use this kind of dirty, vulgar, and disrespectful language. After thinking in the devastating news and trying to overcome the unbelievable ignominy, Muhammad Khan stormed out of his office like a mad lioness, chasing away anyone who came near her cubs. The fairest one he has attacked in retaliation for his seriously damaged bride is the so-called fucking black Negro Sudanese boy. He has called him every word he knew that would hurt him, and even spat several times in his face and called him fucking dirty black Negro. He has called him every filthy word in Arabic and Hindi languages that the extremely angry Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed has just used to insult him inside his office. He scolded Babikir for lying to him and then threw him out of his office and told him never to come back again. After that, he turned to his remaining 7 employees and shouted at them for no specific reason. He shouted it until he began to cough violently. His coughing was so severe it forced him to stop shouting and instead he started banging his hands on the table of one of the girls that happened to be near him. His glasses fell off his face and tears ran out the corner of his eyes. One girl ran and brought him a glass of water and handed it to him. After he gulped down the glass of water, his coughing stopped and his hands stopped beating the table. From there, a few minutes of quietness ensued, a day of never-ending chaos. The employees have never seen their boss extremely angry this way before. They expected the next time he could open his contemptible mouth, he would kick them all out of his office. Meanwhile, all the 7 employees stand and tremble in fear like slaves standing before their evil masters. At that crucial moment, one of the employees dared to open her mouth and speak in the direction of boss. The other employees thought she was just getting a death sentence for herself or a certain to lose her job. I'm sure you can guess who that employee is. Yes, that employee is the boldest girl in the office, and of course, the jealous Roxana. She said in her trembling voice, "Sir, I think I know what happened to the maid servant Rehana Khan." Instead of telling her, "Shut up, you bitch," or telling her, "You are fair, get out of here," which Muhammad Khan said to her, barely able to speak in a voice as hoarse as that of an ogre. Tell me, what do you think happened to Rehan and her daughter? Sir, I think Jamal Khan convinced the maid Rehana Khan not to go to Saudi Arabia and promised to marry her. Because she loved him, she agreed, and he probably took her ticket and visa and sold them to another travel agency. Then that travel agency sold Rehana Khan's ticket and visa to another very ugly Indian woman. That woman traveled to Jeddah and claimed to be the Indian maid, Rehana Khan. You are quite right, Roxana, the chief shouted in the hoarse voice of an ogre. Now I want you all to go to Jamal's hut and find out what he is up to. If you see that Kulaba street whore called Rehana Khan in his rat-infested shack, just call me and I know what I'm going to do to him because he cheated on me and stabbed me in the back with a poisoned dagger that almost ruined my business. Chapter 15. The Wicked Boss and the Innocent Female Employee. Immediately, the 7 employees began to prepare themselves for this life and death mission. All 6 girls gathered their handbags and emerged from behind their tables. The last man standing on his feet who has not yet been fair is a young man by the name of Javed. He is the fairest one to reach the door and emerge from it. Of the other 2 female employees, one has been Of the other 2 male employees, one has been fair and the other is absent, namely Babikir and Jamal. The girls followed behind the said male employee, Javed, one by one in succession as if they were students lining up for the lunchtime in the school cafeteria. Before the last employee could get past the frame, the devil incarnate, the cunning man and convening whistle with his cracking voice in spots, changed his mind and shouted it. Wait a minute. The long line of female employees came to an immediate halt. Ferris clearing his throat so he could be here. Jamila must stay and answer the phones and finish some work here so it doesn't pile up. Since Jamila is the ugliest girl, no other girl has doubted it, the notorious womanizer's intention. Jamila came out of the queue and walked back to her table and sat down in her chair. The other girls felt free to go. Howbeit, the wicked boss changed his mind again and this time asked his favorite female employee to stay behind too. He pretended to be requesting a favor of her rather than ordering her. Dear Bulbula, could you also stay behind and help your Muslim sister Jamila with the workload and help her answer the phones? The manager said in an enduring manner, his vocal cords almost intact. Jamila is not the sister of Bulbula. The scheming son of Satan embossed a religious relationship between the 2 Muslim girls to hide his evil intentions. When his favorite female employee returned to her table and sat down on her chair, his demeanor changed and the wickedness of his mind switched back to normal mood. He shouted to the other employees and ordered them to go search until the ends of the earth. That son of a bitch, Jamal Khan, and that prostitute of Kulaba streets, Rehana Khan. When I get my hands on them, I will skin them alive and burn their bodies on a stake high enough to light up all of downtown Bombay. When the 5 couriers went about carrying out their fact-finding mission, they carried with them the heavy weight of days upon their consciousness. The boss then returned to the office. He sat down in his oversized armchair and pressed the bell to call in the Biyun boy. The Biyun is not allowed to sit inside any of the two offices. He has to sit outside on a small stool. His duties are to respond whenever he hears someone ring the bell and do whatever he is told to do by the others. He also serves as a guard and janitor and cleaning the office. He has to come every day at 8 o'clock in the morning and clean both the front office of the 9 employees and the office of the boss. He is a watchman, a janitor, and a peon, doing the work of 3 people, but only getting paid for the job of 1. That day, when the peon came in, Mr. Muhammad Khan gave him 300 Indian rupees and instructed him to go to the liquor store and buy for him a bottle of Black Label whiskey. Black Label is a finer brand of Indian whiskey. There is a popular form of liquor in India called Daru. Daru is a cheap type of illicit alcoholic beverage that is usually made in the church houses, brothels, and slum shacks and sold for little money. All over India, it is illegal to make Daru, but some people in those poor houses and huts take the risk and make this acid-like liquor. The bottle or a container of this acid-like liquor has no label, so no one knows the exact percentage of alcohol in it. From its effects, one could guess at least an alcohol content of 70 to 80%. With an alcohol volume that high, a person consuming even a small quantity of Daru would lose his senses and behave like someone mad. He might urinate and defecate in his clothes while he is sleeping on his bed or lying unconscious on a street or a filthy sewer. The Daru is like the moonshine liquor in the States. Moonshine was originally a slang term for high proof distilled spirits that were and continued to be produced illicitly without government authorization. Distilling such spirits outside a registered distillery remains illegal in the United States and most countries around the world. People under the effects of Daru can find sleeping on the streets, near garbage bins, gutters, or just about anywhere. If you took off their clothes or ripped the skin of their flesh, they would not wake them up. It would be just as if they had been put under general anesthesia to undergo a serious operation. Drunkards love to test it before they purchase it. There are 2 methods of testing Daru. The first method is when the buyer asks for a glass of Daru from the seller and then he throws it over his head. If one drop fell on his head, he would not buy it. It is said that good Daru is expected to evaporate like water and become smoke immediately upon throwing it into empty air. It is in the second method, the drunkard must lit a match and expose the quantity of it to a small flame. If the Daru shoots out like a rocket or a firework when it lit, then it has passed the test with a positive result and he would purchase it. The evil boss, Mr. Muhammad Khan, is a drunkard, but he does not drink Daru. Although he still had intense anger in his heart, because of the humiliating insults of Sheikh Ahmed that were ringing in his ears and the passionate love adventure of the treacherous employee Jamal Khan and the so-called slum prostitute Rehana Khan. He felt he needed a drink to calm his nerves, and this would be the same treatment and assistance to allow him the ability to begin to, to repair his injured pride. In addition, he has an evil plan developing in his corrupt mind, and only when he is drunk can he begin carrying out this carefully sought out evil. So, when the messenger brought him the bottle of black label whiskey, he swiftly emptied one side of it in his gut. Most of the drunkards in India like to drink their alcohol pure without mixing it. They believe that undiluted alcohol would give them a faster kick than a mixed one. When the demon participant emptied half of a bottle of black label down his throat, his eyes became redder than the redness of hot pepper or hot sauce. He looked as if someone had punched him in the ugly face, or that he had been in a fight with Satan, the devil, and lost. Then he left his office and pretended to regret the expulsion of the so-called black Sudanese Negro slave, Babikar al-Awar. The alcohol had given him a false sense of remorse, and his mood changed from ugly to kind and courteous. Politely, he requested the ugly girl Jamila go to the international students' hostel and ask Babikir to come back to work. He even asked her to apologize to him and say how sorry he was for what he said and did to him. When the ugly girl Jamila took her back and left from behind her desk, the beautiful girl Bulbula also stood up and said to her boss, "Sir, can I go with her?" "Why?" Muhammad Khan shouted at Bulbula, which caused her to jump backward. "Are you a little girl afraid that some thief will come and steal you, or a boogeyman will appear and eat you?" "I don't mean that, sir. I just thought you might allow me to go with Jamila." "And who is going to answer the phone calls if both of you go?" The beautiful Bulbula is afraid of being left alone with this hideous human monster and perverted sexual predator. She has heard from the other girls in the office that he is a notorious womanizer and cheating on his wife. He frightened her so by the alarming tune in his voice. She felt she had no choice but to sit back down in her chair and stay behind. Although Jamila understands why Bulbula wants to come with her, she has done nothing to intervene and rescue the extremely frightened girl. With ugliness on her body and selfishness in her heart, she showed no sign of compassion and cared little for leaving a young girl alone to be exploited by a dangerous sexual predator. In the said world, there are three kinds of public institutions more dangerous to the public than the 10 most wanted fugitives in the world. They are the school teachers, workplace employers, and policemen. If a suspect fell into the hands of the police, he would be beaten up and tortured to the point of death. In India, very often suspects had been brutally killed during interrogations by police extortionists. If the suspect happened to be a female, she would be gang raped by the male officers who took her in for interrogations. Sometimes she might be gang raped by 4 to 5 police officers. Most of the school teachers, especially in the male-dominated Arab countries sodomize their young students. Some of them confidently post about their evil acts among their just as wicked friends. They like small school boys who have yet to reach the age of puberty because they believe at that age the body of the male child is soft and supple like that of a female. School teachers are the least paid of all government employees. Most of them cannot afford to marry girls, and for this reason, they go about satisfying their sexual frustrated desires by forcefully sodomizing their pupils. In Islamic social environments where there is strict gender segregation, there is a large gap between males and females. Most of the schools in Arab and Muslim countries have no co-education facilities where males and females study together in the same classrooms. There are private schools for girls from first there are schools for girls from first to 12th grade, and the same applies to boys. It is forbidden by law, which is supposed by the Islamic text, which is supported by Islamic texts, not to mix the sexes in studies. Some Islamic countries, such as Afghanistan, Somalia, and Nigeria, prevent girls' education, and therefore they are not allowed to go to school at any age, and they have to remain illiterate throughout their lives. This segregation of the sexes and other economic factors increase the resulting homosexual and sodomy tendency, which lead to small male students being raped by their school teachers and older boys. This problem is also facing girls in their schools and homes. Many of these sexually frustrated female students become lesbians and have sex with their female lovers. A female teacher in Saudi Arabia said in an interview on a TV channel that 80% of her female students confessed that they had sex with other girls. Other operators of this moral decay are employers in workplaces and businesses owner. They specialize in taking advantage of their lofty positions to harass those under their control. 90% of public servants and employers abuse those in their employ. This abuse of power, as we are about to see, is worse in the private sector than in the public sector. The devil incarnate, Muhammad Khan, has his own private business. Therefore, he had no higher authority to hold accountable or any chain of command through which his employees can file a complaint against him, such as a labor or an employee union. Consequently, after the ugly girl Jamila had left, Muhammad Setan Khan retained his office and drank some more from his bottle of black label whiskey. After becoming drunk like a street zuck or a criminal crook, he pressed the button of his janitor's bell and called him to come in again. When the peon came in, he told him not to allow anyone to enter his two offices. If anyone asks him the reason, he should tell them the boss is in a private meeting with an important Arab client. He also told him not to allow any of his employees to come in if they return it sooner than expected until he heard directly from him. As soon as the peon left, Muhammad Khan picked up the phone receiver, dialed the number of the pretty girl Bulbula, and ordered her to come to his office at once. Bulbula's heart started beating so hard that she thought she was going to die of a massive heart attack. The first thought that came to her mind is to take her handbag and run for dear life and protect her virtue and virginity from being robbed by a wicked boss. She's a virgin girl. It is crystal clear to her that when the ugly girl Jamila left, her deceitful boss had an evil intention in his dirty mind. She recognizes wicked intentions from the start. She knows that he isn't the kind of a boss who would fire an employee and so quickly feel regret afterward, let alone apologize and ask him to come back. This is just an excuse to get rid of the ugly Jamila so that he could be alone with her. This is a very pivotal moment for Bulbula and an awful trying situation. She is having great difficulty trying to help provide for the needs of her family and has a huge obligation to shelter in her small chole house. She knows that if she runs away today, she have to run away tomorrow. She will always find herself running everywhere she goes. There will always be a reprehensible man with an unfair advantage over her. She will either have to compromise her dignity or run away and keep what belonged to her. She remembered how her mother was firmly against her decision to go out of the house at a young age and work in a place full of males. She disobeyed her mother because her brothers and sisters were considerably younger than her and could not work without leaving school. Her father died and the entire burden fell on her mother alone. Her mother has been working like a machine in hundreds of houses for for a long time and still cannot make enough money to feed all her children and send them to school. When her mother could no longer make enough money to educate them all by herself, her last resort was to remove her sons and daughters from school and send them to work. At that time, Bulbula had completed grade 9 and she knew how to read and write. She asked her mother to allow her brothers and sisters to continue their education and she volunteered to work with her so they could have extra income to meet the needs of their big family. The mother accepted her daughter's suggestion and began to take her with her to work in rich people's houses. At that time, the mother had no fear for her daughter's welfare because she was with her everywhere she worked. What a pity when the greatest enemy of the poor, a terminal illness, attacked the mother and rendered her unable to work or defend her daughter's honor. The family became poor without a single penny to live on. While the mother was lying sick with cancer in a government hospital for the slums and outcasts, Bulbula and her brothers and sisters had nothing to eat. At first, the sick mother told her three little sons to, to either go find some kind of work to do and bring money home to feed their sisters or stand on the streets and beg. Bulbula's new jobs are few and far in between, and if her little brothers left school for a life scourging on the street, they would become prey for the Bombay underworld gangsters who are called gundas to recruit them in their gangs. Whenever children fall victim to the streets, gang members would blind their eyes with hot oil or chop both their legs or hands and use them to beg for money and take what they collect. If children are fortunate enough to escape this type of initiation, they will become part of a gang of juvenile delinquents on path to becoming career criminals. After the mother became seriously ill and could no longer work, Bulbula decided to take on the entire responsibility of caring for the family herself. Her mother told her not to go to work in the homes of rich people because at young age she might get raped. Bulbula listened to the advice of her mother and stopped going to the houses where she used to go work with her mother. She told her mother she told her mother she would find a job in a respectable place where no one would harm her. When she found a job at a travel agency, her mother was not happy to learn that her daughter would be working in an office with men. Bulbula told her mother that she was not the only girl in the travel agency, but that there were 5 other unmarried Muslim girls working with her in the same office with three respectable young Muslim men. Their boss is a devout married Muslim man who always prays and fears God. He has a copy of the Holy Quran in his office and a prayer bead in his hand. He constantly praises the most gracious, most merciful Lord. The mother was still not satisfied with this explanation, but as a result of the needy family circumstances, she was forced to accept her daughter's decision. Bulbula is making 10 times what she and her mother used to make while they were working as slaves in rich people's houses. She is now able to feed her family and pay for her mother's treatment. She also purchases nice clothes for her brothers and sisters and sends them to school. However, on the day her devilish boss called her to come to his office, she found herself standing at a crossroads. She has either to run away and protect her honor or stay and give in to what he wants and continue to work and feed her big family. Sadly, Bulbula has chosen to sacrifice her honor for the sake of her family.